So the next chapter is actually with respect to drainage, where we'll be seeing different river systems present in India. Most important question from both prelims and mains. So first let us understand what is the meaning of drainage, right? So if a single river drains the entire system, then we call it as drainage basin. In other words, what I mean to say is, if you have a river, along with its tributaries, we call it to be a drainage system. So we are not talking about single river. Ganga is not called as a drainage. But along with Ganga, the tributaries of Ganga will also be included, and all this region will be called as drainage basin. And when you observe this particular picture, you can see that A has lot of streams and also B has lot of streams. But these two are actually divided by an upland portion called as water divide. We call Doab, right? So this is what we talk about it. Then when we look at the river system in India, it can be divided into two types. One is the Himalayan rivers and the other one is the peninsular rivers. When we are talking about the Himalayan rivers and the peninsular rivers, the difference between these two is that the Himalayan rivers are perennial. The meaning of this is throughout the year, water will be available. In summers, water will be available due to melting of ice and also rivers. In winters, water will be available because of melting of waters, so melting of snow. So what I mean to say is, Himalayan rivers get rainfall or water throughout the year. Whereas when we talk about the peninsular rivers, they are mostly dependent on the rain, and the rain doesn't happen throughout the year. So we call Himalayan rivers to be perennial and peninsular rivers are not perennial. Second important thing is, these rivers receive water from rain as well as snow. Whereas, and the best examples of this is Indus and Brahmaputra, which originates from the north of the mountain ranges. They have cut through the mountains, making gorges. Here you can actually see a picture. You have two mountainous structures. In between this mountain, the river has actually cut and it has made what is called as gorge. Over a period of time, on the basis of slope of the land, different surfaces gives rise to different structures. So we call it as erosional activity and depositional activity. So let me explain this concept properly with the help of this particular picture. Here you will observe that the river is originating and we call it as source of the river. Once the river originates, here can you see that the slope is very narrow, that is, river is actually moving linear. But when you observe the middle course, can you see it is something like this, that is, river is moving like this. When you look at the lower course, can you see the river movement is like this. The meaning of what I want to say is, in the young stage, river goes like this. In the middle course, river goes like this. In old, river goes like this. So, as the age of the river increases, we observe the east-west extension of river also increase. The reason for this is, when I actually consider the upper course, it will be like this. Middle course will be like this and lower course will be like this, right? So upper course will be like this, middle course will be like this and lower course will be like this. When I am talking about the upper course, when you are actually observing water moving, it will move in this narrow passage. So usually the erosion will be in this fashion. But as it goes to the middle course, erosion happens on the sides as well. and as you go to the lower, erosion happens throughout, right? So we are actually seeing different shapes. And can you observe, when a river is actually moving far off, there is a possibility that a particular portion is cut off, and this portion is actually called as Oxbow Lake. And in which stage do we see? We usually see it in old stage, right? Young stage of the mountain, old stage of the mountain, all this are very, very important for our preparation. In the middle and lower courses, these rivers form meanders. The meaning of meanders is this: just pour a glass of water where the surface is like this, that is no slope, surface is straight. When you drop a glass of water, you observe water doesn't go straight, but water moves like a snake. That is called as meandering, right? And oxbow lakes, the leftover lakes, are usually seen, and they are the depositional features which we usually observe. Then the most important thing that you all have to remember is actually with respect to the drainage patterns. That is, please observe this particular picture. Can you see here, there is one stream which is moving, and then there are multiple streams coming, right? So this is what we call as dendritic pattern. You see here, the dendritic pattern develops where the river channel follows the slope of the terrain. That is, if it is slope and if it is moving, then it forms the dendritic drainage. And the dendritic name is because it resembles the branches of a tree. Sometimes what happens, we usually observe that the river is moving in this direction, and the tributaries of the river come and join in right angles. We call this to be a trellis pattern. Can you see? A river joined by its tributaries at approximately right angles is called as trellis pattern, and this occurs whenever there is hard and soft rocks existing parallel to each other. What is the meaning of this? I'll just show you the picture. Let me take, this is hard, this is soft, this is soft, fine. Usually hard rocks, it is very difficult for rivers to break, whereas soft, it can easily break, right? So you have soft and the river is flowing. There is another river which is actually coming like this, and it started going and joining this at this. So we call this to be a trellis pattern. So this is hard, the color is hard, and blue is where it is flowing is soft. So can you see they are actually coming and joining at right angles? So these are called as trellis pattern. UPSC, if it asks where do you see trellis pattern, whenever you have hard and soft rocks existing parallel to each other. Then we need to talk about the rectangular pattern is strongly developed where you have jointed rock structure. So joints means usually multiple rocks are found. The meaning of this is, when I consider this, you have rocks arranged in this fashion. So whenever the river flows like this and the other river comes and joins, we call this to be a rectangular pattern. And then we need to see radial pattern. So let me take, you have a mountain, and if the river flows in opposite direction, we call this to be a radial drainage. Rectangular drainage, radial drainage. Prelims, very, very important. Mains also, there is a possibility you get a question. Can you see it is in 100 words and it's in a table? So please ensure that you are remembering it when it comes to mains. So after this, let's quickly move to the different river systems. First, let us take the Indus River system. Whenever we study any river system, first important thing that we need to observe is where it originates. Second important thing that we need to observe is which are the tributaries which are coming and joining these rivers. Third important thing that we need to observe is in which area it is going and reaching, that is the ultimate mouth of the river where it goes and joins the ocean. Now the river Indus rises in Tibet near Lake Manasarovar, very important. Flowing west, it enters India in the Ladakh district of Jammu and Kashmir. Right? Manasarovar is very important because India and China had issues where India using Nathu La Pass to reach Manasarovar was actually blocked by Chinese. So high possibility they may ask you about this. So when the Indus river originates in Manasarovar, they actually move westwards and enter into Jammu and Kashmir, and it passes through gorge. I showed you in between mountains, that is the mountain will be carved to form a structure like this, and this type of structure is called as gorge. This V shape is valley, U shape is gorge. Several tributaries like Zaskar, Nubra, Shyok and Hunza join it in the Kashmir region. These are the tributaries, very important. The Indus flows through Baltistan and Gilgit, which is actually part of Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and then the Sutlej, Beas, Ravi, Chenab and the Jhelum river join together at Mithankot in Pakistan. As of now, you try to remember this. When we see 11th standard NCERT book, even this Sutlej, Beas, Ravi is divided and you get detailed information about this. Beyond this, they actually drain into Arabian Sea east of Karachi. Very important, right? This is what you need to observe first. So what did we see, guys? So here is your Manasarovar. Indus moved west and through the Gilgit, Baltistan and all, Shyok river and all we saw, and then it is moving in this direction. At Mithankot, all these 5 rivers from Punjab actually comes and joins, and then it is actually moving towards Karachi and joining Arabian Sea. Very important, right? This is one drainage system that we need to cover. The next important thing that we need to see is actually with respect to Ganga river system. So when I am talking about the Ganga river system, the headwaters of Ganga, initially the Ganga river is called as Bhagirathi, and where it originates, Gangotri glacier, and it is joined by Alaknanda at Devaprayag in Uttarakhand. At Haridwar, Ganga emerges from the mountains onto the plains, that is in Uttarakhand. Very important statement. These are all factual data, nothing to explain, so I want you to see it along with the map. The Ganga is joined by many tributaries. The main tributaries are Yamuna, Gaghara, Gandak and Kosi. Yamuna rises in Yamunotri glacier and moves parallel to Ganga, and it meets it at Allahabad. So can you observe in this picture? So Ganga, Gangotri glacier, and can you see it is moving parallel? Sorry, it is moving to the east. And then can you see Yamuna moving parallel, originating at Yamunotri glacier, and it reaches at Allahabad. So this is what we need to understand. Then the Gaghara, Gandak and Kosi rise in the Nepal Himalayas and they join Ganga. Then these are the rivers which floods most of the parts every year. Kosi is also called as Sorrow of Bihar. The main tributaries which come from the peninsular uplands. I have already told you that when we are actually talking this as a basin, few rivers come from this side and few rivers come from this side. So we are talking about the rivers coming from peninsular uplands. One is the Chambal, Betwa and Sun. So let's go back and see. Can you see this? Chambal is coming from plateau. I told plateau is divided into central highlands and plateau is divided into Deccan plateau. And I have told you Aravalli mountain ranges which come here and Rajmahal hills here. These are all part of central highlands above Narmada. So this is plateau region. From the plateau it is going and joining the river Ganga. This is what we call, few rivers are originating in Himalayas and they are going and joining Ganga. Few rivers are originating on the plateau and they are going and joining Ganga. Then what they do, can you see, they don't go straight like this, but they actually turn into Bangladesh and enter, and this is what we call as Malda Gap. Then what is more important, the Ganga flows eastwards till Farakka in West Bengal. This is the northernmost point of Ganga Delta and it is divided into two. One enters into West Bengal, another one enters into Bangladesh. And then we can see the Bhagirathi Hooghly flows southwards through the deltaic plains to the Bay of Bengal. The main stream flows southwards into Bangladesh. One branch enters into West Bengal. But the main river, it actually flows into Bangladesh where it is joined by Brahmaputra. And after Ganga and Brahmaputra meet in Bangladesh, we call it as Meghna river, right? And this goes and joins Bay of Bengal. The region where Ganga goes and joins is a famous delta called as Sundarban Delta. And here you should understand, Ambala is located on the water divide between the Indus and Ganga systems. Very, very important. Please try to remember it. And then we need to see that the plains from Ambala to Sundarban stretch over 1800 kilometer, but the fall in slope is hardly 300 meters. The meaning of this is, when we consider from Punjab to West Bengal, when we are actually talking, we are usually observing that the slope is gentle. The meaning of this is, the slope is not literally present at all. It is a flat surface. On flat surface, whenever river flows, what happens? You see meandering of rivers. So this is what they are trying to say. That is, as there is only 1 meter drop for every 6 kilometers, the river meanders in this region. At last, we need to see one of the most important river system of Himalayas, that is Brahmaputra. Brahmaputra also originates closer to Manasarovar, but unlike Indus and Sutlej, they do not move westward. What Brahmaputra does is, Brahmaputra moves in this direction, then in the northmost region, they take U-turn and enter into Assam. From there, they move till Bangladesh border and again turn south. Here they actually meet your Ganga and they are called as Meghna below this, right? This is what we are trying to observe. That is, it flows eastwards parallel to Himalayas. On reaching Namcha Barwa, Arunachal Pradesh, it takes U-turn and enters India in Arunachal Pradesh through a gorge. Here it is called Dihang and it is joined by a tributary called as Dibang, Lohit and many other tributaries to form the Brahmaputra in Assam, right? And then in Tibet, the river carries a smaller volume of water and less silt, because usually the Brahmaputra river, when it is moving through the Tibet, they carry less water. The reason for this is, rainfall is very less in this region. After it enters into Assam, where you have heavy rainfall, usually Brahmaputra carries large volumes of water. And in Assam plains, they also start meandering. Because of this, there is high possibility that they actually lead to the formation of floods and also some riverine islands. The largest riverine island in the world is Majuli Island. Right? We have already seen this, so just be careful. Then we need to talk about the peninsular rivers. The peninsular rivers are divided into west flowing river and east flowing rivers. West flowing rivers are the one which go and join Arabian Sea. East flowing rivers are the one which go and join Bay of Bengal. So when we are talking about this, Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri flow eastwards and drain into Bay of Bengal, whereas when we talk about Narmada and Tapi, they flow westwards and you have Western Ghats immediately. Here you have Western Ghats, right? So due to this, what happens, whenever the river flows, right, they directly enter into the ocean. So they have very less space for formation of deltas. But when you see this portion, so from here itself they start making the delta. So deltas are usually present more on the eastern side, but they are present less on the western side because of the presence of Western Ghats. And whenever the deltas are less, we usually call it as estuaries, right? So can you see here? It is called as estuaries. They are comparatively smaller in size. So let us talk about Narmada basin. Narmada rises in Amarakantak hills in Madhya Pradesh. Amarakantak hills actually shows a mountain from where river moves in different directions. So we call this actually to be a radial pattern. It flows towards the west in a rift valley formed due to faulting. On its way to the sea, the Narmada creates many picturesque locations, especially the marble rocks near Jabbalpur, where the Narmada flows through a deep gorge and they form Duadar falls. So falls are important things which we observe with respect to Narmada. Now with the Narmada Sarovar dam coming up, it is very, very important for you to locate this. So it is usually moving between Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat. You have Tapi basin. It rises in the Satpura ranges in the Betul district of Madhya Pradesh and moves parallel to Narmada in another rift valley. And its basins are Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat and Maharashtra. The coastal plains between Western Ghats and Arabian Sea is very small. Few rivers like Sabarmati, Mahi, Bharatpuzha, Periyar are present. West flowing rivers, major is Narmada, Tapi, the remaining are this. Very, very important for you to know the names of west and east flowing rivers. Let's take Godavari, which originates in Nasik district of Maharashtra and it drains in Bay of Bengal. It moves through Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. The Godavari is joined by many rivers. UPSC has asked you to talk about the tributaries of Godavari. They give you the tributaries and ask you whether it is a tributary of Krishna or Godavari. Krishna or Godavari, it is very important for you to look at it. At last you have to see that it is one of the largest in entire South India and we call it as Dakshina Ganga. Then you have something called as Mahanadi river basin. It rises in the highlands of Chhattisgarh. It flows through Odisha to reach the Bay of Bengal. So where all it flows? It flows through Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand and Odisha. Very, very important. Next, let us see the Krishna basin. Krishna river originates near Mahabaleshwar and it flows into Bay of Bengal, which tributaries Tungabhadra, Koyna, Ghataprabha, Musi and Bhima are the tributaries. Please try to remember this. Its drainage basin is shared by Maharashtra, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. Usually Krishna Water Tribunal is between this. Whenever Kaveri issue comes up, this particular topic becomes important for you. You should be knowing where Kaveri actually originates. It originates in the Brahmagiri ranges of Western Ghats and it reaches to the Bay of Bengal in the south of Kadalur, that is in Tamil Nadu. Its main tributaries are Amaravati, Bhavani, Hemavati and Kabini. Which are the states? Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Most of you will be knowing about Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, but you should also know about Kerala. Only few areas, that is tributaries of Kaveri, usually move in this region. Besides this, there are several smaller rivers like Damodar, Brahmani, Baitarni and Subarnarekha, which also moves from west to east. Then we need to talk about lakes. When we talk about lakes, we need to talk about the famous Dal Lake in Kashmir, right? You have different lakes in different parts of the world and some are actually created by wind, some by human beings, dams, some by reverse actions. Oxbow Lake, I gave you an example. So you have some of these like Chilka Lake, Pulikat Lake, Kolleru Lake, which are very, very important. Sambar Lake in Rajasthan is usually used to produce salt. Very, very important for us. Right guys, at last you need to look at role of rivers, and today we are also coming across interlinking of rivers, right, that will be taking in current affairs. So it is important for you to read about all these topics. So guys, we just saw the drainage system. As I have told you, you need to remember where it originates, tributaries, where it ends. It's enough. If you can see this, it is fine. First we divide it into Himalayan and peninsular. Then peninsular is further divided into west and east. Which is the largest in peninsula? Godavari. Right? This is very, very important for us.